What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to talk about why UFC 308 is the second best card of the entire year. There's been some amazing cards this year. We've had UFC 300, UFC 299, UFC 298. 303 was decent. 297 had some good fights. 301 was awful, but this is a great card here at UFC 308, and I think it has the chance to become one of the best cards of the year. But first up, before we jump into the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. This is the best way to help me grow the channel. And two, while you're down there, please turn on the post notifications. It always helps for you guys to stay updated with the most recent MMA content that comes out daily. But with no further ado, let's jump right into the video on why I believe that UFC 308 is the second best card of the year, right behind UFC 300. First off, I want to break down the main event. That is Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway, and this is a super good main event, probably the fight of the year in my opinion. You got two strikers, Ilia is a well-rounded fighter, but he's a great boxer. You got his grappling, Max Holloway's chin. He's such a good matchup for Ilia Topuria, and probably the hardest matchup for Ilia in that featherweight division. No, undoubtedly, because of all the different skills and the resilience that he brings into the UFC octagon. But truly, I do believe that this is going to be a very exciting fight, but for the two fighters, and I think for the fans, this is going to be a fight of the year contender. Ilia is such a crisp boxer. He's got so much different skills in him to really show that he is, the new face of the featherweight division for years to come, and he would be the only fighter in UFC history to not only beat Max Holloway, but to also beat Alexander Volkanovski. And then I just think that this fight has so many different layers. Just could win this fight, Ilia could win this fight, and it is one of the most exciting fights of the year. And that's why I believe that this main event, is the best fight of the year, kicking off why UFC 308 is so amazing. In that co-main event, it's probably the best co-main event of the year. We have Khamzat Chimaev going up against Robert Whittaker, and you guys all know that I'm a massive Robert Whittaker fan in this fight. I think that he's going to beat Khamzat, and I will leave my video down below, or I'll link it right here, of the video I made a couple days ago and why I believe that Robert Whittaker is going to kill Khamzat Chimaev in there. But I think that this is such a good fight. There's so many different layers of it. Again, I could see Khamzat winning this fight. He's got that first round flurry if he overwhelms Robert Whittaker with the grappling and different submission attempts, but Robert Whittaker, the longer this fight goes, is going to have the advantage. Just one round in this could solve it for Khamzat, but if this goes 4, 5, or 3, 4, 5 rounds, I do see Robert Whittaker getting the better of Khamzat. He's fought the likes of Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman, and as those fights have got to the second and third round, Khamzat has definitely slowed down, and he's going to have to make a different approach to this fight, or he's going to have to rely on himself to get the finish in that first round. And if he doesn't, it's going to be kind of a ride or die fight. I do think that this fight is possibly one of the best co-main events of the year and one of the best fights in the year in general. And next up in that featured bout, we have Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov, and this is another amazing fight, probably one of the only technical fights in the heavyweight division where there's some actual strategy in it. We get Alexander Volkov, who is a 6'7" monster in that heavyweight division, Ciryl Gane, who is a great kickboxer in that heavyweight division. This is going to be a great kickboxing brawl. These two have fought before at a Fight Night main event where Ciryl Gane ended up getting the victory, but this does have great potential to ultimately be an amazing fight in this UFC 308 featured bout. Ciryl Gane is also a fun contender, as well as Alexander Volkov beating Sergey Pavlovich in his last fight. It's truly a really exciting fight to be put in this featured bout. It would be, I was waiting for Ciryl Gane to fight someone like Jailton Almeida and possibly Volkov to fight someone below him, but putting these two up against each other for the second time is the fight that needs to happen, considering that it will be a technical striking match in that heavyweight division of these absolute monsters of a human being. And this is 100% a great fight to put on at UFC 308. Now, the fourth fight on the main card is Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic, and this was a kind of a head-scratching fight to put together, but from a true fan perspective in the UFC, this is a great fight. Rakic just lost to Prochazka at UFC 300, and Magomed Ankalaev KO'd Johnny Walker in the second round at a Fight Night main event in January of this year. So I think that this is an amazing fight to be had. These two are really big human beings in that light heavyweight division. It's a really fun fight, probably a #1 contender match in that heavyweight division, especially for Ankalaev. If he wins, title shot guaranteed, and if Rakic wins, he might need one more win, but very fun fight. It just was a little bit head-scratching considering the Khalil Roundtree incident, But I do think that for a fun fan perspective, Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic is a fight that's going to deliver. Magomed has heavy hands. Rakic is kind of the same way. These are two incredibly giant individuals in that light heavyweight division, and it's going to be an action-packed fight for that fourth fight on UFC 300 or 308. Then we got Lerone Murphy versus Dan Ige, and that is a great fight to open up the main card. I know Dan Ige just fought Diego Lopez on like 2 hours notice at UFC 303, but Lerone Murphy too is a star coming up in the UFC featherweight division. He just beat Edson Barbosa at a Fight Night main event in May, and he looked amazing in that main event. So truly, I think that Lerone Murphy has all the skills to go in there and beat someone like Dan Ige and push up into the top 10 of the featherweight division. He's one of the best prospects in that featherweight division and has so much hype around him, in my opinion, to be one of the top contending featherweights in the UFC. Dan Ige, though, Dynamite Dan, 50K Ige, is an amazing, fun fighter in the sport. He's got knockout power in those hands. It's going to be a very hard matchup for Lerone Murphy. And this is a amazing fight if you are a deep UFC fan. If you watch all these fights, this is going to be possibly fight of the night opening the main card. And talking about the prelims are also stacked. We got Jeff Neal versus RDA. That's a great fight. Jeff Neal has fought the likes of Ian Gary and Vicente Luque, and RDA has fought the likes of just everyone. He's fought Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. He's fought everyone. And then we have Marcos Raggio de Lima versus Kennedy Nwosu. He's coming out from the light heavyweight division. And it should be a fun fight, although he might get knocked out by Marcos because Marcos is a big, big man. We got Abus Nurmagomedov versus Bruno Ferreira. That's a great fight. Abus has been losing and winning some fights, but Bruno Ferreira is a good up-and-coming prospect. He just beat Dalton Stolfutz at that UFC Louisville fight with that spinning back elbow. And also a very fun fight. We got Rinat versus Nursultan Ruzoboyev, which is a very fun fight. Ruzoboyev is a 6'5" welterweight, and he's a massive human being. That is probably going to be my prospect fight of the night of the UFC card. That's just such a good fight between two great individuals. But truly, this prelim card is amazing too, and I have so many expectations for this card as a whole. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think down below in the comments section about this UFC 308 card. If you think it's a truly amazing card, if you think it's as good as I'm saying, or you just think the card is kind of so compared to a lot of different cards in this UFC event in this past year. I truly think that this has all the makings of one of the best cards of the year, especially with a good main event, good co-main event, deep pay-per-view card, great prelims. This is one of the best cards of the year, in my opinion, and it has the potential to live up to the hype of possibly surpassing UFC 300 as the one of the best fights of the year. Having Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway in that main event is such a special main event. Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat in that co-main event, such a special co-main event. Having Gane versus Volkov, a great fight. Ankalaev versus Rakic, a great fight. Murphy versus Ige is a great fight. Neal versus RDA in the prelims is crazy. And a lot of these other fights are going to allow this card to be one of the best of the entire year. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you guys want to help support the channel on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We are almost there. We're doing so good. Subscribing is free, and it means so much every time someone does so. And while you're down there, turn on the post notifications just so you guys don't miss any update of the UFC content that releases daily. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.